So just finished my seminars in Europe. So usually the things I'll cover are just like basic, really like basic sports concepts in a which. And one of those is like the axis. Sorry, so Nick, you come here. One of the things I usually demonstrate is this one. I actually came up with this a long time ago, but I think I actually got the actual explanation incorrect. I used to consider this more about separation. So if I push Nick like this, he's actually fairly solid. But if I just turn my head like this, he goes. Try it at home, works usually 100% of the time unless somebody's like really, really solid. But there's always a difference. Okay, so if we look at this, say, from a context of a hook, we're usually told, you know, turn the front foot, turn the hip, and then like this. But you'll see a good boxer will actually, like, they'll slip. They slip here, and then this happens. Tokyo QOM video recently covered that really well, in that if you turn the axis here at the same time, you actually get a jam. Your body has to work harder than it normally would. On the other hand, if I subtly shift, I've already shifted my axis here. It's not very visible, but I've already shifted my axis here. Now all of a sudden here, it goes right through Nick. Whereas if I don't, and I just go here like this, see how I get stopped. So usually the biggest example is this: you just turn your head, then boom, like this. Okay, other example. Nick is, well, if I just push Nick here like this, he's like really solid. If I turn my head to my right leg here, he's still really solid. On the other hand, if I turn my head here like this to here, then actually it's pretty easy to move Nick. Takes some muscular force, or effort, but it's still pretty easy. All right, so, covered a little bit about, the axis. Why is this important? Well, for one, strikes, knowing where, you actually have to turn and what connection you have to maintain. So let's take a look at a couple of those and we'll look at how that applies. Nick's going to kind of come here. So let's take Kotegaeshi, for example. And, there's a alignment. I cover front myofascial chain, center line, all this other stuff. But let's just look at pure axis. If I'm here and I try and turn Nick like this, I run right up into his center. Now obviously, like, you can turn this here like this and, like this, but not looking at any of that. If I'm just trying to turn Nick here, I run right up against his structure. If I look this way and I try to do the same thing, I run right up against his structure. Something funny happens. If I turn my head this way and then turn it this way, it's really easy for me to get him. Same thing for something like a sankyo. If I want to take a sankyo, if I just try and go like this, I'm going to run right up into the structure. On the other hand, if I turn over here, it's very easy for me to get him here. So, but my weight hasn't actually shifted. I just shifted my axis. And the way that I cue or one can cue their axis in the beginning is simply by turning their head. Okay? The body naturally, in fact, if Nick gives me his fist here, and I turn my head first, and I turn like this, and then I turn this way like this, what naturally happens? He's going to turn too. My weight hasn't shifted, my axis has shifted. Same thing with the strike. If I tap Nick here for a jab, my weight is here, my axis is here. It's no good. My weight is here, my axis is also here. It's also not so great. But if my axis is here and my weight is here, it's fairly solid. In fact, I could keep my weight here in the center, but shift shift my axis just slightly this way, then it's very easy for me to tap Nick. It's a lot of force, actually. This is how you get like a stiff jab. Okay. So, that being said, how do we train it? Easiest way, just to raise your leg, like this. Biggest error that happens is when people raise their leg, and you'll see this in a lot of like Chinese basics, because they're working on their basic body structure, like this. You'll see people hunch over like this. But if you simply look over to your supporting leg, now you've established like a straight line here, and you don't collapse. If you're still collapsing, even after you look over, that means you have serious issues. Actually, let's take a look at this. Just I'm going to have Nick actually stand here, and Nick, just do agate for me. Like, okay, so this is his baseline, which is pretty good. Okay, I'm just being neutral. Okay, so if Nick does the dumb agate like this, it's like he's going to get blocked. But Nick's default is here. Now Nick, just stand on one leg. If Nick stands on one leg and he looks to his supporting leg, right here, now go. Yeah. Try it at home. Yeah, it'll work. And let go. Go here like this, and then he has much more control, right? If actually, I just thought of this on the fly. If I just tap Nick like this versus if I turn like this, it's a lot more force actually. Try it, but that means that you have to be aware of where your axis is and understand left, right, center. So the way that you check that is, let's say Nick is here, and I give him, so he keeps his elbows straight, I give him a tap, it is what it is, okay? Don't try and, we're checking base structure. So if I tap him like this, and he kind of goes to his heels. Now he's going to look to the side, and he's going to stay there, like this. One more time, look this way. There we go. Now he's going to look one more time, settle the axis. There we go. Settle the axis. There we go. Now look, come center. There we go. So it's not always 100%, but usually about 80% of the time it helps to set the axis. Now, does it work when you have your eyes closed? Actually, it doesn't, because it relies on your visual system. Our visual system actually cues our balance. Let me try Nick real quick. So Nick, you're going to come here, okay? And you're going to look to the side like this, and then like this. Now come back to center, close your eyes. Now look to the side, here. So this tells you how much you're reliant on your visual system. Just theorizing off the top of my head, there might be something with the visual system combined with your internal proprioception that sets your axis. So you can't do this with the eyes closed. Keep the eyes open, and that should cause a change in your axis, where you are, and it'll help you in a lot of like exercises that you do. No matter what exercise you do, you need to know where where your side axes are, and then where your middle axis is. Okay, so if we take a look at some basic movements, so we'll see like these kind of movements. Here. We'll see this in boxing a lot, actually, where you sit into here and you sit into here. This is the same kind of movement that you see in like ice skate lunges, here to here to here. You're setting your axis side to side. There is an exercise that you can do where you you turn here to the side like this, and to some it might feel like if you turn here into the hip and you just engage the sit into the glutes and you're straight, you feel solid basically. Thing is, if Nick pushes down on my rear hand, lose my balance. So why is that? It's because the axis isn't actually set properly. So to fix that, actually, when we turn, if we look first here, which is the same as if we look to our supporting leg, look here first and only stay on this side here, like this. Notice I haven't really gone down into that crease. Now Nick pushes down on this arm. It's much more stable. I could give a similar cue, which I did in a couple other videos with the NTH, where I get this kind of precarious balance. I call it neck, tailbone, heel. Here, it's like I'm balanced, gonna stick on my neck, and I keep myself slightly off balance, actually, towards the heels. Then, it's almost like the body is really light, but I come here, like this, and then Nick tries to push down on this, and it's still solid. So, whether you're doing a movement like this, you'll see this in Shiko. And sometimes you'll see people do stuff like this where they turn here, probably to get stability, but then the problem is that if you turn here, in order to try and get stability, and you're all the way over here, what happens if Nick pushes down here? You know, your balance is literally outside of your foot, so of course I'm going to go out. So the way to solve that is that you're going to fold the arm, and when you fold the arm, your center of gravity actually shifts to the side. So that means you have to shift the axis by turning the head first. That's actually going to set the axis, and then you'll know exactly where to place your foot here. Now if Nick tries to push down, this is actually fairly solid, right? Now, because you're aligned on this side, it's very easy for me to keep the solidity here, and I'll come back to center, which is always a problem with this exercise. A lot of people will stretch all the way up like this, and then they'll kind of like come over to the side and then bounce back when you want to maintain center. One of the early cues I used to give to people is that, like, let's say, I'm going to borrow Nick, like, let's say he's a wall, and you want to leave your weight here in the supporting foot here as you come down, 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 and feel how you come back to center. What I didn't realize at the time actually was that that is a result of shifting your axis properly to this side here. Then I can always maintain my weight here on this side as well as stability. So even though this looks kind of like floppy, Nick can push down on this arm and it's solid. The second that I turn my hip here, lose my balance because my axis is completely gone. So, to shore up, axis is best cued with your head, turn, turn, center. Turn, then shift. Turn, then shift. As your proprioception develops, you can shift with your chest, you can shift with your stomach, you can do all sorts of funky stuff, but not until you have that proprioception burned in where your axis is. I highly, highly recommend even sports drills, like these kind of drills where you do them very quickly. Ladders are great, these kind of like lateral movements. Ladder movements that go forwards are not actually forwards, they are lateral movements. You're quickly shifting side to side, even though it looks like you're going forwards. So just some food for thought. I'll be coming at you guys with more tips and tricks, probably filmed in hopefully a proper studio. I just wanted to get this content out there. Okay? Thanks for watching.